During a flypast, the rotors of two Kuwaiti Armed Forces Pumas touched. Disintegration of one was swift, the other hovered briefly before plunging. Although both civilian and military spectators came to the rescue, the two crewmen in one machine were trapped. The French-built helicopters were taking part in a special display in honour of visiting relatives of British servicemen who died during the Gulf War, which drove Iraqi forces out of Kuwait 2 years ago.
The Taiwanese airliner ran off the runway and into the ocean as it landed in strong winds and rain. The 747 came to rest, floating half in and half out of the water, its nose resting on shore. Tugs and rescue craft rushed to the scene as passengers escaped the stricken plane through a side chute. Officials say there were no serious injuries, but the airport was closed for the afternoon.
Even as the aircraft gathered speed, it was obvious there were strong side gusts of wind. One proved to be too much.
Look at that.
The aircraft was heading for Princess Charlotte Bay. The Cairns-based pilot and his passenger were uninjured. They crawled out of the upturned aircraft before it sank in about 1.5 meters of water. Air safety investigators flew to the crash site this afternoon to begin their investigation into the accident.
Testing of these giants will astound you, as you'll see now from film obtained by 10 News. The Jumbo is repeatedly slammed down hard on the runway. They are run through walls of water to see if they slew off the slippery strip. Wings are pushed way beyond their limits. In this test, they're bent as far as they can go. Up. And up. And up. Till finally...
The twin-engined Lockheed Neptune is one of the few survivors of its kind in the world. Developed nearly 30 years ago for maritime reconnaissance, this aircraft saw service in the Pacific with the US and French navies. Discovered in Tahiti as it was about to be turned into scrap, it was rescued by a group of Australian enthusiasts, restored and flown 6,000 kilometres to Sydney. After further restoration to bring it up to full flying condition, Neptune will become a regular feature at air shows around Australia.
The air show in Moscow in more than 20 years impressed the crowd with a remarkable display of military hardware. The Western world saw for the first time the Soviets' envied Blackjack bomber. It could fly across Australia without refuelling. Then came an unusual sight, a transporter carrying an empty fuel tank used on the Buran space shuttle.
Pilots. 9 of their jets were performing in the air show over Lake Ontario. Thousands of spectators were watching as they performed a stunt called the upward-downward bomb burst. But 2 of the snowbirds apparently brushed wings, sending one of the planes plunging straight into the water at 650 kilometres an hour, its pilot trapped in the cockpit. The second jet spiralled out of control and plummeted towards the lake in a fiery dive. Amazingly, its pilot, Squadron Commander Dan Dempsey, did have time to eject and parachute.